All right, folks, we are live and we are back for another market close. It is January 22nd, 3:46 p.m. And it's been an interesting market. I guess that's what I'll say. It's been a very, very interesting market today. Lots of different stuff to talk about. I think the top two pieces of news today, Bitcoin just getting demolished right now. I mean, I think it's just barely hovering above 40,000. Yeah, we touched 39,000. So we got to talk about that. Tesla selling off, trying to get below 200 Dolores. Is that going to happen? No clue, but it's definitely looking like it's trying to get to that below $200 level. So we're going to talk about Tesla, some of the issues they're having right now. Jim Cramer said some things that might end up being bullish for Tesla. We'll talk about that. And then we also got PayPal that was having a good day in the morning, and then it sold off. So PayPal completely shit the bed today, down 3%. It was up 3% in the pre-market at about $68. Now it's at $63.85. Why did it fall? Really no idea. I think the algorithms just got excited that PayPal was up basically 9% in the past week, and they took their profits. But in general, January 25th, we have that big event coming up, and if that event's not good, then, the market in general is not going to be happy. So PayPal, shit the bed. Got a lot to talk about. We'll keep talking, and we'll go from there. Daniel says, bruh, had your link open in the background, was looking at Twitter. You scared the shit out of me. Dude, my mom the other day, she was, so I have this thing with my mom where I sneak up on her and I scare her all the time. And my hair is being wild today, as you guys can see. I'm like not wearing the hat today, and I'm just like letting it run. And it's like it's giving carp. It's giving a lot of carp right now. It's just insane. So my mom was there. She was just sitting in her room the other day, and I knew I was gonna scare her. Like I knew I was gonna get her because like she didn't even know like I was in my room. So she came upstairs, assuming no one's upstairs, and she was just like folding laundry. And I was just like, this is gonna get her. And I came and I didn't even say anything. I just touched her shoulder and she freaked out, because she was just like, who is here behind me? But I'm kind of scared to go all out on this now because like she's getting older and I'm like, dude, imagine she had like a heart attack or something after I scared her, because she gets really scared when I do this stuff. She's just like, I don't know why, she just always gets scared. And over the past couple of years, it's been fun, but now she's getting older and I'm like, I don't want to kill her just by scaring her, so we're gonna make sure that that doesn't happen anymore. Gift Magic, Tom Brady, Ray, David, I Show Sad, Daniel, Richard, Alan. Are you copying Carp's hair? I've had this hair since I was 5 years old, dude. So if anything, he's copying me. Ian, Felicia, Jason, Theo J, Daniel. My mother's the same. I just walk behind her and stare at her and she has a mini heart attack. It's just hilarious. And so now I'm trying to watch myself because I don't actually want to, scare her in a bad way. All right, let's get into it. Let's discuss Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the first thing we got to talk about. Bitcoin getting demolished. Ironically, I don't know if it's ironic. I don't know if that's the right use of the word, but the Bitcoin mining stocks, interestingly enough, have not been destroyed as much as Bitcoin has. And so that's the exciting part right now about what we're seeing on Bitcoin. Let me pull it up right here. So here we go. First of all, Pouncer up 5% of the day, ending. We got 11 minutes left, but it looks like it's going to end pretty nicely. It hit 1830, sold off from there. Probably was it was going to sell off from there, but in general, didn't have. It's been a good day for Pouncer, up 5%. You really can't complain too much when Pouncer goes up. So here's Bitcoin, 40,214. We just hit 39,505. So we rebounded about $700. That dip at we hit 39,385. Wow. So we were $300 away from 38,000. I'm sure a lot of people got excited about that 39,000 dip, and people obviously bought, and that's why we saw the rebound right here to 40,000. So we're down about 1% of the day. Almost we're down about 3% of the day. Again, the Bitcoin miners, they're not getting hit. As you can see, almost all of them are green. MicroStrategy is red a little bit. Coinbase is green. CleanSpark, look at this, up 4% on the day. Hit 680. I'm assuming some people either thought it was the bottom or was just like, this is stupid. And they kind of were like, well, we're going to buy up the stock. And so that one rallied. Marathon rallied up 2%. Riot rallied. Ethereum in that 2,300 range. It's down 3% of the day. Ethereum still just performing pretty well over the past couple of weeks, regardless, even as Bitcoin has fell. Bitfarms is up 0.24%, and Robinhood touching $11 again. Up 2.94% of the day. So I think just based on like my raw intuitive understanding of price action with what's going on with Bitcoin, 39,385 was a test of could we go below 39,000 and hit that 37-ish range, where there's major support. And at 39,385, it seems like there were just a ton of buy orders ready to scoop up a lot of Bitcoin in order for it to not fall lower. So there were people ready to buy Bitcoin. And as a result of that, I think the mining companies and some of the Coinbases of the world, the brokerages, they kind of understood this dynamic that was happening, and they didn't let themselves fall. A lot of them have fallen almost 40, 50% in the past week, right? So they kind of bottomed out as well, and people ended up buying up the stock. So Bitcoin actually getting hammered, but the mining companies not performing that badly in the context of Bitcoin. Jeremy just said, I just got off the last video you posted. Thank you for being here, Jeremy. If you guys didn't check out my daily Palantir episode today, this is a big one. You guys should really watch it. And like make sure you see what's happening. Okay, so my mom just said, can you open the door? I'll be back in like 10 seconds, guys. I forgot. She told me in the morning she like lost her key. So 10 seconds. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere or I will find you. All right. That was less than 10 seconds, bro. That had to be like, that was 5 seconds. Look at that. That was 5. Daniel counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the chat. That was like 6 seconds. That was great. That was fast, dude. And I ran 1,000 calories this morning. I don't know how I ran that fast, but here it is. Okay, so yeah, the episode is important because we talked about the Wall Street Journal piece that came out. And look, it wasn't really a hit piece, guys. It was actually a piece that had some decent level of due diligence. I talked to a bunch of people, got their perspectives on it. And it was real. I mean, it was a real point of contention around the government business. Now, granted, I think Palantir's government business is going to be fine, and there's going to be plenty of growth, and there's a ton of government contracts they're going to catch. But it is a video you want to watch and just keep your eye on as a Palantir investor, because there is a bear case to the government business, and it's important to understand. Very important to understand, just in terms of how we're looking at growth over the next couple of years in regards to that government business. Now, we're up 5% on the day, $38 billion. Guys, the volume on Palantir today, 79 million shares traded hands. That's insane. 79 million shares. Gift Magic says, Amit, why is Palantir up today? The only reason I can tell you is because of macro. I mean, honestly, it's because of the macro. Macro is going up. Macro is doing well. Palantir is doing well if the macro is doing well. And I mean, look, when you got companies like Nvidia touching 600, obviously, some other derivative software companies are going to do well based on that demand for AI. Now, look, I kind of feel this is a little bit too much too quick, not only for Nvidia, but for a lot of these companies. Like Palantir up 5% of the day for no reason. Doesn't really make any sense. You can't argue that it was oversold. It's not oversold. Palantir at 15 is still, trying to justify the multiple that they have. It's just the nature of the company, guys. They have 2 billion shares outstanding, a lot of shares, not a lot of growth, less than 20% growth. So when we get this premium, it always makes me wonder what's happening. Is an institution getting involved? Does someone know something we don't know? Is there some news out there that people have gotten some access to? Are people more excited for earnings because there's, different customer updates or something that people are thinking about that is going to be super productive? I have no idea, but it is always a little on edge because you're just like, why exactly are we seeing some of this happen? Speaking of seeing a potential pullback, let's take a look at one analyst who believes that this market is pricing in a lot of growth. And if that growth is priced in, we're not going to see too much more momentum coming from here. So let's get a bear case by Northwestern.
Thinks the market is due for a pause. Let's bring in Brent Schutte, Chief Investment Officer with Northwestern Mutual Wealth Management. Brent, welcome. Good to have you with us. You heard Mike there talk about what history tells us, and history tells us that when the S&P, says Mike, hits a new high after not having hit one for a year or more, that the performance is usually pretty good. Is what you're saying, does it quarrel with that thesis, or does it just mean we're going to have a pause and then we'll pick up and move farther higher?
Unfortunately, I think it quarrels with that thesis. I think this time is a bit different, given kind of what's happened post-COVID and where we're at right now. Look, to me, I think a lot of the good news has been priced in. People see finally inflation coming down. That was something we forecasted. Now we're worried that inflation is moving from a COVID thing, which is what that was, to something of an end of a business cycle thing. So we're relinking to an economy that looks late in the economic cycle, where wages rise, they stay elevated, and that puts upward pressure on inflation, which is where we think we're at right now. And given that backdrop, we don't think the Fed is going to be easing policy anytime soon. Certainly if they do, I think they really risk a wage price spiral. And we think inflation numbers have bottomed out, but they are certainly showing signs of pushing back higher. So, for example, the Cleveland Fed median CPI is rising. Core inflation is kind of stalled out in the 3% area, as has services ex shelter, which is in the 5% area. And so we think, these things are going to cause inflation worries to come back. The Federal Reserve is going to stay tighter, and the market will actually experience.
So I disagree with that. I mean, he could make a lot of arguments for a pullback. I don't think inflation is the reason. Now, I could be wrong, but at the macro data I've looked at, I don't think inflation is that big of an issue. But let's see what else he has to say.
Some sort of a pullback in the coming months.
I see in my notes that you say we continue to forecast a recession. You're fighting the good fight there. A lot of people have given up that forecast. You have not. I wonder why, number one, you see that as a probability. But number two, if there's going to be a recession, why wouldn't you then believe that the Fed would be more inclined to cut interest rates to make sure that the economy doesn't slump deeply?
I am more inclined to believe the Federal Reserve will cut rates when they see a recession, but by then I'd imagine the stock market would falter if history is any guide. And so to me, that's kind of the sequencing. I think you will see the Fed eventually cut rates once they see the labor market weaken, but that tends to be a trending type of an index. And typically when the Fed cuts rates, it doesn't arrest the stock market decline immediately, nor does it arrest the recession immediately. And that typically has a period of negative returns, which I think is more likely than not. Look, last year we were fighting the good fight of inflation coming down and no one believed us. That's happened. This year I feel just as lonely as I did last year. I still think a recession is likely, just given that I don't believe the Fed is going to ease policy until you see that labor market weaken, which by then it's too late.
Well, listen, Brent, the voice crying in the wilderness is often correct. It's just unheard. Let me bring Mike back in here. Mike, we're looking for some data later this week. The fourth quarter GDP numbers. We're looking for the personal consumption expenditures price index. How much could those numbers move the markets?
I think, Contessa, pretty significantly. I mean, I think a premise for this market remaining on firm footing is the disinflation story has to remain believed and plausible.
I agree with Gift Magic here in the chat. I think the labor market is weaker than being reported. That is a catalyst outside of inflation that we can probably see for somewhat of a market decline. We got about 2 minutes into the market closes. I mean, look, a lot of those jobs that were reported were government jobs, and they were definitely cyclical jobs, hiring for, the quarter or whatever. And so I don't know if those jobs are necessarily going to be stable. We are still at 3.7% unemployment, and I just don't know if we can stay at those levels. Now, granted, if inflation is coming down, and we have a little bit more unemployment, that's definitely going to help with inflation coming down and not being that sticky. True inflation, we looked at it this morning, under 2%. If inflation coming down is a narrative that is not going to be sticky, it's a narrative that's not going to persist, that's something that's hurting our ability to lower rates, then we're not going to have to lower rates to stimulate the economy. We're going to have to lower rates to not go into a recession. And that is the debate over the next 6 months. Are we lowering rates to not go into a recession, i.e. inflation debt? Or are we lowering rates because we're in a recession and we need to re-stimulate the economy? And if one narrative, i.e. the former, wins over the latter, we have a really good stock market. If the latter wins, maybe some stocks go up, but the far majority of them are going to be hurt because the real economy is going to be hurt. And that's why we'd be raising rates or lowering rates in the first place. So let's see how the market closes. I mean, today's been a very interesting day. It's continued the rally since Friday. Some stocks, though, definitely got hammered. We'll talk about them as the market closes and see, I guess, how strong of a day do we get at a close. Truflation is in the ones. That is correct, Jordan. Truflations is in the ones. And, their data tends to be a little bit more real time than the Fed. All right, folks, January 22nd, 4 p.m. The stock market is now closed. By the way, some breaking news. Dave Portnoy, owner of Barstool Sports, is now a part owner of Rumble. Rumble is the alternative YouTube company. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of them. Ticker symbol RUM. Peter Thiel invested $500 million in these guys. Wow, their stock is up 36% today. Holy crap. No, this probably happened in the morning. I just didn't see it. Wow. It's so weird, dude. I was thinking of buying this stupid stock when it was like $3. Did it ever get I think I saw it a couple months ago, and I was like, I don't believe in like their long-term business trajectory. Their growth is but I was like, I just don't think they're competitive enough with YouTube. But I was like, it's such a cheap stock. It would have been a gamble, but I was like, I feel like there's some value there. And wow, it's up 36% today. I'm not touching the stock. I don't recommend anyone touch the stock. Rumble is a business that is interesting, but I mean, look, if they're trying to go after YouTube, I just don't think they have a chance, quite frankly. Their main appeal is their free speech. And I get it. I just think with Twitter, that's also free speech and a lot bigger, and now it supports video. I don't know if there's that much room for Rumble to take people's attention away. But yeah, look at that. Rumble up 36% on the day. Wall Street bet stock. It might be a Wall Street bet stock. Yeah, it might be. You know what I also think is going to happen, by the way, and we'll get into the other stocks. I think Reddit's IPO, what's so funny? Some journalists on LinkedIn reached out to me today from The Drum. Apparently that's a media company. And they're like, hey, can you give me your thoughts on Reddit's IPO? And I was like, sure, but why the fuck do you care about my thoughts? They're like, oh, we're just reaching out to like people on the internet. I was like, okay. And my thoughts were, I think Reddit, when it IPOs, might end up having a meme stock rally because Wall Street Bets is like one of the biggest subreddits on Reddit. And they might just meme stock rally Reddit the stock. I mean, that would be fate meets irony. And I feel like that's actually very possible to happen, but I wouldn't speculate on it for that reason. But I think that could definitely happen. All right. Palantir 1761 up 5% of the day. Snowflake 199 up 3%. Robinhood ending up 2.61% on the day. Zillow had a decent day up 2%. Open Door up 10.79%. Look at that. Open Door up 10.79%. SoFi had a good day. It was up 10% at one point. Now it's up 5.74%. Enphase at one point was 110. Now it's up. Now it's 107, up 3.44%. SMCI was up 7%. Now it's up 3%, 436. Had a great day last week, 35% on Friday. Absolutely incredible. S&P 500 up 0.23% of the day. Still remain green, 483. QQQ 421. SMH 188. The semiconductor fund. PayPal got sold off, down 3%. Why did PayPal get sold off? I don't know, but PayPal got sold off. Their investor day, I'll be streaming it on the channel. It's 3 days away. Let's hope Alex Chris really can shock the world, because if he doesn't, PayPal is not going to be in the best situation. So we'll see what he has to say. And then they'll have earnings in a week after that. MicroStrategy down about 2.25%. They're up a little bit after hours. Again, the Bitcoin stocks did pretty well. Disney breaking out. One of their activist investors, Nelson Peltz, is instituting some new stuff. I'm still researching the story and he's seeing exactly what he's doing, but he's making things happen in Disney. And that's why we've seen the stock go from about 85-ish to 95 over the past month. So Disney's doing well. Hershey's is down another 1%. I tried Mr. Beast Feastables. I posted the video on my Twitter. So if you're not following on Twitter, you got to follow on Twitter. And it was so bad, dude. The chocolate was so bad. The chocolate was so god awful. It was not good chocolate at all. We'll talk about Mr. Beast in a second as well, because he just revealed his ad revenue from YouTube, but it was so bad. And I was like, this is not a reason for why Hershey is down. Hershey's down because cacao futures have been down, right? So like the cost of the cocoa that goes into the chocolate, that price has gone higher, which means their input costs have gone up. So their margins have been cut, but it's not because of Mr. Beast. I don't care how much marketing he has, dude. That chocolate sucks. It is so bad. It was so bad. I was like, this is not good chocolate, dude. Compared to Hershey's, like there is no way in hell I would ever buy that stuff. So maybe the kids will buy it because of the marketing. I get it, but I don't know if you could just rely on the kids forever. Eventually those kids grow up and people have to still eat your chocolate, and the chocolate sucks. That's my opinion. So Verizon 3965. Overall, I think Hershey's, once those cacao prices start going down, that'll be the buy signal on Hershey's, but I don't think it's because of Mr. Beast. IWM is actually up today. Wow, 2%. Russell 2000. So small caps were up 196 today. They rallied with some other stocks. Bitcoin ETF down 4% of the day on ARKB. And IBIT BlackRock also down 3.57% on the day with their Bitcoin ETF. Bitcoin right there, you saw it was just below 40,000, now at 39,000 as well. Let me share one thing, speaking of Bitcoin, that we need to talk about. A chart I saw today about inflows to the ETFs that I wanted to discuss, because I think those showed a little bit of momentum for Bitcoin, even though it's kind of hidden in the momentum. So this is Bloomberg's chief strategist on the ETFs. He's been covering the ETFs for a long time. Jason says, I think the chocolate is vegan. Maybe it is vegan, dude. It definitely doesn't taste good. Definitely didn't taste good. Okay, so this is what he says. Day 4 was a good one. The rolling net inflows grew to 1.2 billion after the newborn 9. These are the ETFs. Pulled in 914 million on Wednesday, by far their best day yet, overwhelming the 450 million out of Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. A lot of selling pressure happened on Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, primarily because of the fees. So a lot of that money was being reallocated in a bunch of different areas. The 9 have now taken in $3 billion and traded $5.4 billion in the first 4 days, which are abnormally high numbers. IBIT is now over $1 billion, so BlackRock has $1 billion. FBTC closed behind, and the other one, Bitwise, firmly in third place now. 5 of them are over 100 million. So we have seen a ton of money get into these ETFs. It's not like the money hasn't been flowing into the ETF. There's just been a bunch of sell side pressure as well. Not only from Grayscale, but I'm assuming just from retail investors taking some of their profits at that 47, 49 level, which created the downside momentum, and then it just compounds on itself. But the net inflows are there. So now the question is, how much can they grow? Eric continues to say, obviously the 9 are growing beyond GBTC bleed, but even if every penny of Grayscale outflows into them, which it hasn't, this is normal stuff. ETFs have been taking money from high-cost mutual funds for a decade now. It still flows, even though net, no new demand from underlying stocks, and it still helps them grow and get mojo, which has led to millions of new investors. So get used to it. The 9 are going to steal they're going to steal from more than GBTC2. Anything high cost is vulnerable now. This is the way. Basically saying, look, these ETFs are just getting started. There's going to be a ton of money pouring into them. Investors, once they see some like momentum in the stock or in Bitcoin in general, they're going to flock to these ETFs, and you're going to see a lot more assets roll into them. So another $5 billion that's been traded in the first 4 days of these ETFs. I know the ETF has been a sell-off for Bitcoin, but it's definitely not been, I think, a failure in regards to bringing in inflows. The question is now, can they continue to bring in inflows and maintain momentum? As you can see right here, Bitcoin below 40,000 on my screen right now. Ian says 28 likes, 338 watching. Every like increases pound here by $1. Yes, please make sure to like the stream. And thank you all for being here as well. Daniel says, I'm European, tried Hershey's from an American store. I don't know how you guys like it. It was horrible compared to another chocolate we have. Yeah, I mean, look, Europe chocolate is amazing. I've had German chocolate. You guys are not used to like the processed chocolate. You're used to more real chocolate. Hershey's, Twix, Snickers, all of that stuff is processed with, preservatives and all that stuff. But Americans are very used to that type of stuff. In general, just imagine the Mr. Beast type of content, or the Mr. Beast type of chocolate with, extra preservatives versus the Hershey's stuff, which is like a little bit more reasonable. It's not really the best. Having said that, speaking of Mr. Beast, let's talk about his ad revenue from Twitter. Okay. Mr. Beast posted a video on Twitter last week. Okay. The video got about 100 million views, and he said to guess how much ad revenue he made. This guy brought in $263,000. It shocked me also, if it shocked you. 156 million impressions, 5 million engagements. 150 impressions are basically like views. And $263,000. They definitely pumped this video with a lot of ad revenue. I mean, even Mr. Beast was basically like, yeah, we don't think this is necessarily real. So he tweeted here, it's a bit of a facade. Advertisers saw the attention it was getting and bought ads on my video. I think, and thus my revenue per view is probably higher than what you'd experience. I knew people last week or on Friday when people got paid on Twitter that doubled their likes, impressions, and engagement, and they made less than what they made 2 weeks before. There's no way you can double your engagement and make less. It's because all that ad revenue got allocated to Mr. Beast. And to Elon's credit, he needs to get Mr. Beast posting on the platform, because the more people that, follow the platform, the more, users that are on the platform, which is net good for all creators. And Mr. Beast is the greatest advertisement to get people onto the platform. He also said he's giving away all $250,000. This tweet was posted 3 hours ago. It has 22 million views. 10 people will get $25,000 each if you retweet his tweet. So that's what he's doing. Kelly in the chat. Yeah, Kelly was one of those people that doubled her engagement and impressions. I think she made $297 2 weeks ago. And you would imagine she makes close to like 500, 600 this time for a doubling of views and engagement. And she made 231. So she made $60 less than what she made 2 weeks ago. And she doubled the engagement. It made no sense. Right. So I think a lot of the money ultimately got allocated to the Mr. Beasts of the world. And Elon had to do his thing to be able to, get him to come onto the platform. I talked about this with me, Kevin. I want to play this 1 minute clip because he kind of called out Mr. Beast and Elon, saying that this was definitely going to happen. Elon obviously basically pseudo lying about this, but we all kind of knew he was going to do this. Do you think X has any chance of dethroning YouTube for video?
No.
Mr. Beast just posted his first video on X. He's going to publicly share his ad revenue. Do you think that, Elon is juicing up that video with as many ads as possible to try to incentivize people to keep posting?
He will lie.
Really?
100%.
Mr. Beast will lie.
No. Elon will.
Elon will lie.
They will funnel extra revenue on that on purpose. Because think about it, it's the best advertisement they could ever get.
Yeah.
First of all, that video was not an exclusive to Twitter or X. It was a repost.
Yes.
But not only that, I mean, look, I love Elon for the innovations he does, but he knows how to play the game. If Mr. Beast comes out and goes, "Oh my gosh, I made X dollars on YouTube. I made twice."
And that's literally what he did. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I made 263 grand." And we'll talk about the YouTube comparison in a second, but that's literally what happened.
Twice as much on X. Come on, man. It's literally the best free advertisement for Elon right there. So yeah, those numbers are, if I could bet money on it, I would bet money those numbers are going to be rigged.
So in the context of Tesla shareholders, do you think buying X was ultimately a mistake? And then we get into that, and he's like, "Yeah, buying Tesla was a mistake." But here, I mean, it's really interesting to see that is exactly what happened. Now, people were saying, how much would he get on YouTube for 100 million views? On YouTube, given his audience, if he was a finance creator and he got 100 million views, he would get like $1 bajillion because the finance RPMs are closer to like $8 to $10. His RPM, I would imagine, is close to like $1 to $2, right? So it's on par with what he would get, maybe a little bit lower, maybe a little bit higher. It's definitely competitive with what Twitter paid him. The question is that replicatable? Can he actually get that level of engagement? And quite frankly, again, he got 156 million impressions. Those are not views. I would imagine, I don't know, dude, maybe 20 to 30% of those people actually stayed past a minute, and even less of those stayed past 10 minutes, which is where you need to be watching to be able to see the ad in the first place. The pre-roll ads probably helped to get some of that engagement as well, because people had stayed for like the first 10 seconds. But outside of that, I don't know if that's replicatable. I think Mr. Beast is also thinking, like, is this really a platform I can go to versus YouTube that is just rewarding me with 100 million views almost every week, versus my one video that got beefed up by Twitter. Now, granted, I think if he posts this content on Twitter, whether it's a new or old, it doesn't matter, because Elon will hype up the video no matter what. There were people reporting that they saw the video in their feed and it didn't even say the ad. When you see something in your feed, it says ad at the top right corner. They didn't even see that, but there was like a missing space in the top right corner. And people were like, did they just pump this as an ad without like saying it was an ad? And I don't know if that's a conspiracy or if that's true, but a lot of people were like, why is this thing showing up in my feed? So they definitely pumped the video. It was a good advertisement, and I'm sure they're going to get a ton of new users because of this. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know if it's real. Granted, as a creator on X, I want my ability to make money to expand. And if that means more users come to the platform and, Elon's got to play the game, then Elon's probably got to play the game here and see that happening. I got a pre-roll Mr. B Shopify ad. Yeah, Shopify had a ton of ads on that video, which was really beneficial for Shopify. Obviously, they've had a very good collaboration with Mr. Beast. Speaking of Shopify, one thing I saw today that was not really the best news for PayPal. Casey Neistat, I don't know how many people know him. Apparently, he's not that well known, even though I thought he was a pretty famous guy. But he's a very popular YouTuber. He tweeted this today: "Dear PayPal, I hate you." So that wasn't good. And I have some inside information that PayPal really pays attention to people on social media. Like, they really pay attention to what people say on social media, especially if you have like issues. So they are probably reaching out to him to see what's the issue. The reason I said, speaking of Shopify, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, there you go. Harley Finkelstein, the vice president of Shopify. He said, "Why aren't you using Shopify Pay? We're here for you, Casey." So here's a company that uses PayPal integrated into their platform, Shopify, basically trying to compete with PayPal, saying, "Hey, use Shop Pay, which is our own proprietary payments platform. Don't use PayPal." And so this is where the competition is coming for PayPal's neck, right? It's not that easy for PayPal to just keep getting away with some of this stuff. And when you got people that are angry about it, obviously, you're gonna have the whole world coming at you as well. Kelly says in the chat, they really, really, really pay attention. Yeah, they really do. Basically, Kelly tweeted about PayPal over the weekend, and let's just say, like, they really care about her as a merchant, given she is an e-com superstar. And they just wanted to make sure that Kelly was doing okay when she had some complaints. So that's some of the stuff we're seeing when it comes to PayPal. Now, here, I wanted to share a couple of things on PayPal real quick, and then we'll move on to some other stuff. Two charts I tweeted today. PayPal capital allocation. A lot of people are forgetting they bought back a crap ton of shares. They bought back about $5.4 billion worth of shares, 75 million shares over the past 12 months. They still have more buybacks to do. This is something that the street loves to see, buying back $5 billion of your outstanding shares. They need to show some growth in order to get Wall Street to get more excited. But I mean, they're doing all the right things in terms of what Wall Street wanted to see. And one more thing I want to show right here. They process $4.3 billion a day, every single day. $388 billion for last quarter, 15% growth in TPV, which is total payment volume. This is not a company that's dead. It's not a company that's not growing anymore. It's a company that simply needs to increase transaction margins and get rid of the competition narrative that's coming up in order for them to continue to grow. Someone commented today, oh, I don't get why people like PayPal when, Venmo is the same thing. Venmo is not the same thing as PayPal. PayPal is for merchants to allow people to buy stuff on their website. It's more for checkouts. Venmo is peer-to-peer transactions. Venmo is a fundamentally different product. Venmo is more like Cash App, and PayPal is a whole system integrated platform for e-commerce, and it handles 25% of the world's e-commerce, which is a stat I heard over the weekend, which is insane. So a lot of room in PayPal to be able to exchange their narrative. They just need to actually be able to do that later. They pay attention to pals. That's correct. And those e-commerce stores that are having issues, they definitely pay attention to those pals. Now, we've got earnings coming up, a variety of different earnings coming up. Tomorrow, we have Netflix earnings. I'm going to be live streaming that right after the market close. So let's get into what to expect from Netflix earnings coming up tomorrow.
Expected to deliver accelerating revenue growth and subscriber additions pretty much in line with last quarter's surprise beat. That's nearly 9 million. That's how many new subscribers analysts are projecting for Q4. That would bring Netflix's paid memberships to 256 million. Now, the other key number to watch is 11%. That's the accelerating revenue growth that Netflix forecasts for the quarter. Both numbers would reflect success converting freeloaders to paid subscribers, as well as advertising upside after Netflix announced 23 million ad-supported subscribers. They announced that just earlier this month. As rival streamers focus on profitability, Netflix's lead is seen as giving it an even greater advantage to license others' content and ultimately spend less on content. Now, despite the 36% run-up in Netflix shares since its last earnings, 60% of analysts have a buy rating, 34% have a hold, and only 6% have a sell. Scott?
All right, Julia, thanks so much. That's Julia Borston. She'll, of course, be all over the network tomorrow as we...
Netflix is going to be interesting. I'll be covering it live on this channel. It's not a stock I've owned. It's not a stock I plan to own. But the reason it's interesting to me is primarily because of the consolidation we're seeing in streaming. And I think a lot of people can speak to this. People have canceled a variety of different streaming platforms, whether it's HBO, Peacock, which is such a beautiful name, Peacock. I don't know what marketing director thought, that would be the name, but Peacock, Paramount, right? All these different names that have come out there. The one thing I think it's the last to cancel is Netflix, dude. It's the last one. And you could say Prime is the last one to cancel. By the way, Mr. Beast is getting a $100 million Amazon Prime deal. The first video on his new TV show will premiere on YouTube, and then it'll go to Prime. So he locked in $100 million. That's really awesome for him. But I think Netflix is one of the ones that people don't cancel. And they're going to report 9 million new subscribers, which is just insanity given how big they already are. And top line growth of about 12 to 15% more, which again is not easy to do. So in the context of Netflix, I mean, it's going to be really exciting to see what they produce on earnings, and this co-CEO model they've had over the past couple of years as Reed Hastings has stepped down has been pretty exciting for them. And it seemed to work, and they've, stopped the lack of growth that they had right after post-COVID as well. Astrokis says, I just rotate all of those platforms. Yeah, to me, I went on Netflix over the weekend and I tried to find something, and I just put on YouTube in the background. It's so hard for me to find good content on Netflix. It's so hard, dude. And the commitment it takes to press a show and even keep it on in the background for me, it's just really hard. The only show I really binged last year in 2023, 2 of them is You. You is about this guy who's psychotic, who's obsessed with a girl and wants to kill her. I don't know why I don't know why I like that show, but for some reason I really like that show. And then you got Beef, which I think it was underrated. It won an Emmy apparently, so maybe it's not too underrated, but I like Beef a lot. Beef and You. Outside of that, I don't watch Netflix, dude. It's hard. But the people that do like that premium content, they end up watching Netflix. Money Heist is great. I think Money Heist is good for 3 episodes, and then the show is too long. And dude, I can't handle a show that has so much talking. I just start skipping every 10 seconds. I'm like, please just get to the action. I don't want all this character development, or I need the character development to be happening with action because I don't have my ADHD. I'm not going to watch 2 people talk on a premiere show. If I want to do that, I would just turn on a podcast. So for me, it's very difficult to keep up with these shows. But we need a little bit more momentum there. Nonetheless, Netflix is going to do great. Going to be really fun to see their earnings and cover it tomorrow. and see how the company does. And we need Netflix to do well because it needs to show the state of the consumers in a good spot. If it's not in a good spot, then obviously, there's going to be a little bit more weakness coming on for Netflix. You got beef. I love beef, dude. Beef was so good. Black Mirror, dude. The only episode I like from Black Mirror is called Hang the DJ. It's a really good episode. But I've not watched any other episodes. I watched that in college, and but that's it. But Hang the DJ is my favorite episode there. Let's look at Apple. Apple is approaching $200. Let's get some updates on Apple. This is a stock that got downgraded out the wazoo 2 weeks ago, and now it's climbing back up into that 193 range. Let's see what people have to say about Apple.
Apple remains the place to look. So 3 downgrades in the last 2-3 weeks.
Yes.
Do you remember, prior to this string of downgrades, a few months ago, Apple got downgraded and we joked on the show, like, okay, that marked the near-term bottom for that one.
Yes.
And then, Apple comes roaring back off of that downgrade. And then it gets these 3 downgrades and stock's looking dicey. Technically, it's kind of messed up. The last one was Redburn Atlantic downgrading it to neutral. What happens from there? Stock's pushing back towards 200.
Mark the bottom once again. It's remarkable because if you look at the S&P 500 year to date, which I did this morning, 71% of the S&P 500 is underperforming the overall performance year to date for the S&P. And going beyond that, actually 61% of the stocks in the S&P 500 coming into this morning were actually negative on the year. So you take a stock like Apple and you try to insert this negative sentiment towards it in the face of very, very strong fundamentals, and strong fundamentals, not just from the standpoint of earnings, which have been relatively flat, but just the ability to buy back their own stock. And what's interesting about the rally over the last several days is, remember, it's happening at a time where we're in a blackout period for corporations to buy back their stock, which is another compelling case. But I think Apple is just a classic example of not trying to push against the overall momentum in the market. And the momentum in the market is incredibly strong. And the momentum in the market is being captured by a lot of non-discretionary funds. And I really want to highlight that because I don't think people understand how the market structure has changed so dramatically to where now you have algorithms, you have quant funds, and you have non-discretionary capital that really is the overwhelming driver of where the market goes. And I think Apple is a clear example of being a beneficiary of that type of non-discretionary momentum.
You could make the argument, Jason, that, the time to be negative Apple was when it was going to head down into the 160s. I like the high 160s is where it got back to. Now it's rallying back once again, and we have the parade of downgrades in the last couple of weeks. Today, not so much. Bernstein reiterates it as market perform. Bank of America says AI could drive Apple to outperform in 2024. Stronger upgrade cycle coming, driven by the need for the latest hardware to enable generative AI features. So that's their call there.
Yeah, so I think for me, you pointed it out, Scott. I mean, 3 downgrades, right? And then you see obviously the price action that we saw.
It's rare that you see 1 downgrade, okay? And the span of a week, or 8 days, from January 2nd to January 10th, you got 3.
100%, and then they lose the position as the largest company in the world, right? And then Microsoft obviously takes the lead, which obviously Microsoft's price action has been strong. But again, I think for me, as it relates to Apple, a couple weeks ago, it was a source of funds. You get the upgrade, and there's no longer concern about the multiple 29 times forward. Foxconn is no longer issue supply chains upgrade cycle. We hear about the glasses, 180,000 pre-orders sold, right? So I think it's just benefiting from the momentum in the tech space as rates pull back.
Got the watch drama.
Okay, so Apple will be fine. Everybody likes it. They're the darling of the world. The reason I brought them up is because 180,000 units apparently have been sold of the Vision Pro. Apple expected 80,000 units to be ordered in the pre-orders. They ended up doubling that, 180,000. That's from some very close insiders to that cover Apple, and they did that within an hour. So the demand for the Vision Pro, even at 4K a pop, was definitely high. Okay, and so Apple's going to make some money on this bad boy. The question is, how long will it take to get to 1 million units? Gene Munster had a really good tweet today about Apple. Let me just read it for you guys here. But his argument was about the iPhone versus the Vision Pro. So he says in 2007, let me just share this real quick. In 2007, opening weekend sales hit 270,000 for the iPhone with an average selling price of about $450. That means total revenue was 122 million. While Apple did not report this, Vision Pro likely sold 150,000 units on opening weekend with an average selling price of about 3,700, which translates to about 555 million in revenue. That means Vision Pro sales for opening weekend were about 4.5x higher than the iPhone. It's important to note that 74 days after the iPhone was released, they hit the 1 million unit sales marks. I estimate it will take Vision Pro 7 or 30 days, so he thinks it's going to take about 2 years to reach the 1 million unit milestone. I think that's a little, I don't know. I think that's a little conservative, just given the fact that they sold 180,000 or 150,000 within, opening weekend. I don't think it's going to take that long to hit 1 million. Maybe I'm wrong. But he says it's going to take time for momentum to build, and eventually it will hit. Obviously, the iPhone hit 1 million very quickly. People were very excited about the iPhone. The problem is, do consumers really in this economy have $4,000 they're willing to part with for that Vision Pro? And so I think that's where his hesitation comes on giving them, 1 million units that easily. If they do, Apple's going to make a shit ton of money. The problem is, to me, how long is it going to take to get an affordable version? Is that affordable version actually going to have a use case? Because remember, the iPhone had an incredible use case, and then every iPhone model after it, it just proved the use case better and better and better. I personally don't believe Vision Pro has a use case. Like I genuinely do not think this is something people want to use every single day. At least not hundreds of millions of people, definitely not billions of people. I could be wrong. If I'm not wrong, then Vision Pro 2, 3, 4, 5, it won't really matter. It's just not going to sell because people won't care about it too much. Granted, it's Apple, and we'll see what Apple is able to do. We'll see. They've already done so far pretty well on the Vision Pro. Now they just have to keep expanding it from there. Netflix new movie with Kevin Hart, Lift. Is it just me, or is Kevin Hart not really funny? I'm sorry, he's just not fun. Like, I can't watch any movie with Kevin Hart. I know this is so mean. By the way, I also don't think Hassan Minhaj is funny, the Indian guy. I think he's like atrociously not funny. He just jokes about being Indian and like white people being racist. I'm like, that's just not funny to me. Hassan Minhaj and Kevin Hart are not funny. The funniest comedian in the world, in my opinion, is Andrew Schultz. Maybe a controversial take. He's funnier than Dave Chappelle to me. He's funnier than Cat Williams. He is the funny. If you've actually watched his crowd work, the intellectualism he embodies within his jokes and his ability to speak on the fly, he's the funniest comedian in the world. I discovered him in around 2019. I watched him live 2 times, I think, and the guy's the funniest ever. But Kevin Hart's not funny, dude. Kevin Hart has so many brand deals. He's afraid to take risks with his comedy, in my opinion. Like if you actually watch the Kevin Hart special, he's talking about his kids. He's not making like the edgy jokes. The real jokes you're supposed to make. Like, I don't care about your kids, dude. I want to hear like something edgy. And he's partnered with JP Morgan Chase. He's partnered with every Netflix movie. Like he's afraid of getting canceled. They found some old tweets he said about gay people in 2010, and he went on this apology tour. I'm like, dude, like if Dave Chappelle just says F you and still makes a ton of money. So he doesn't have that character trait to him, which is why it's very hard for me to enjoy his humor. But nonetheless, his movie on Netflix hopefully is doing well. I think he's in the show, Dave. Oh, really? Dave's in the show. Yeah, it's hard for me to watch, dude. I just don't have the patience to watch movies like that. It's really, really tough to get me there. Okay, so I said the news that Rumble is partnering with Barstool Sports. I actually found some more details on that, and I want to pull that up right here because this is really interesting, and I think in the content game, it's actually pretty unique. So Dave Portnoy, now a part owner of Rumble. Here's the press release. This came out this morning that Rumble was up 35% today on this. On Monday, Rumble announced a new wide-ranging partnership with Barstool Sports, which will give the online video platform access to all of the irreverent sports brands' video content, including live streams. Meanwhile, Barstool Sports will market and promote Rumble as its preferred video home. Wow. So they're partnering with Barstool, which is a media company. Rumble's a tech company. And they're trying to bring some of Barstool's users onto the platform in an attempt for this content partnership to make sense. Rumble CEO said, the partnership with the Barstool Sports is a major step in the pursuit of our mission to continue building a portfolio of widely popular sports and entertainment content. Rumble is quickly emerging as a leading platform for the under 30 demographic, and we're excited for Barstool Sports to be a significant part of our rapid growth. Barstool's issues with YouTube appear to have been the catalyst and the outlet looking for a new media home. Interesting. Okay, so Dave Portnoy talked about this here. Let's go to Rumble's earnings, or Rumble's charts, or there's not their charts. They're just their financials. I just want to see what do they have to say. What's actually happening? So here's 3Q 2023. You guys should be able to see this, right? This was up 35% today. Let's take a look at it. So year-over-year revenue increase of 64%. That's a great number. They're growing 64%. They did 18 million bucks last quarter. For context, YouTube does about 7 billion per quarter. They did $18 million. Now look, it's a smaller company, but nonetheless, average estimated minutes watched per month, 10.7 billion, 58 million MAUs. Interesting. 40 million in the US and Canada. So those are high quality MAUs, people that actually have money to spend. That's important for the advertisers. Average estimated minutes watched per month increased 19% to 10.7 billion. Not the best growth, but like not bad. Hours uploaded of video per day increased 78%. That's great. 15,000 hours uploaded a day. To give some context, YouTube has 500 hours of video uploaded a minute. YouTube has 500 hours uploaded a minute. These guys have 15,000 uploaded a day. Not, obviously they're a much more smaller platform, but still that is good to see that they're doing it. They partnered with a bunch of Republican things. They have Steven Crowder on there. And they also have this cloud part of their business that's like not that interesting to me, but maybe that's the growth sector they're all leaning on. To me, it's more so about like the actual creator side of the business. Look, it's an interesting company. The stock is up 35% today on this Barstool thing. I don't think that Rumble is necessarily a company that is super exciting to me to bet on outside of the speculation part of it. Peter Thiel invested $500 million in these guys, and I think he wanted a separate outlet outside of YouTube to free speech. The problem that I've noticed with a lot of these companies is that if you don't have the network effects built in to actually scale, it's very difficult to get people off of the existing platforms. Like how many of you every day actually use Rumble or even check Rumble? I mean, put in the chat. I'd be very curious to see if you do. Also, the UI on Rumble, dude, it looks like they're in the 1990s. Like I don't know how you can be worth this much and the UI be this ugly. Like it's really bad user. I mean, this is where Silicon Valley tech designers really matter, because you just need something to look better. But I don't know. A lot of it is also recycled content from YouTube. So it's hard to imagine people are going to leave YouTube to go to Rumble unless there's a really unique incentive. Lena says, did you speak on PayPal falling today? Yeah, I did. I mean, look, it's just a sell-off. People took their profits. The stock was up almost 10% in the past 3 days. So people took their profits. It makes sense that it's down. At least it's in the 63 range versus in the 55 range. January 25th, I'll be streaming live on the channel. Alex Chris said he would shock the world. He has to shock the world in order for the stock to continue to go up. And so now that's the next catalyst, and we'll wait from there. Never been on Rumble. People haven't been there. Yeah, look, Inbound, the great comment. Twitch isn't profitable. The CEO of Twitch admitted that last week. Amazon owns Twitch, and this is a company that has, I would argue, probably a couple 100 million users. And so it's hard to imagine Rumble is profitable if Twitch isn't profitable. Now, remember, the reason Rumble is exciting to people is because in 2021, there was so much censorship on YouTube and everywhere else that Rumble was the home for all these creators. The problem is now Elon bought Twitter. So if you're censored on YouTube or you're censored on any platform, just go to Twitter, and Twitter is a beautiful platform and it's really good. It's I use it every day. It's a great platform. So to imagine going to Rumble, making a video is already hard. Making a thumbnail is hard. Making a title is hard. Like there's so much work that comes into making a video. To post it on a platform that's probably not going to do as well, it's just tough. It's really, really tough. So, not sure how good Rumble will be. Let's talk about Tesla. Roy says thoughts on Tesla stock. I somehow have not talked about Tesla this whole time. So let's end off the stream discussing more about what's going on with Tesla. So Tesla sold off today pretty badly. We have earnings on Wednesday. I will be live streaming it on Wednesday. So make sure you guys are here. We will be discussing the future of Tesla. And if this bad boy is going under $200, Tesla is now at $208. It was down 1.6% of the day. At one point got to 216. Then it sold off for the day. I asked the Twitter audience. Let's check. I haven't checked out this tweet yet. I said, well, let me show you guys what I said. Oh, wow. Okay, so we got some answers here. I said, who's buying Tesla here? Or did everyone get the heebie-jeebies and is now waiting for below 200? Because I'm not going to lie. I mean, I would love to buy under 210, but some of the heebie-jeebies are coming in. I'm like, maybe Elon says some stupid shit. Get this bad boy to 180. That was a better buy. Let's see what people say. Been praying for prices at these levels, going to be buying heavily here. Okay. Peggy is a very big Tesla bull. He'll be on the channel, by the way, next week. He's a really good friend of mine, amazing Tesla content creator, and he's doing well on YouTube. So we're going to have him here. Someone else says, I'm buying here. More negativity here. Jacob says, chart isn't looking great. Sentiment is down, so I'd imagine it's not attractive. Tesla fan Colorado just bought a bunch today. Mike said Mike bought 25 shares at 208. This is a starting position. So we have a bunch of people that are buying. Some people are selling these cash secured puts, which I don't think is the worst idea. I mean, today the premium on some of these cash secured puts, given it's down 2%, probably not the worst. Some people are buying TSLL, which is a directionally leveraged ETF on Tesla. So if Tesla goes up, TSLL returns, I think, like 1.5 to 2x more than Tesla. Very scary to mess around with that, because if Tesla goes down, it also goes down a lot as well. So if you think this is the bottom, then like maybe you can play with that, but it also is something you don't want to necessarily go balls deep in, because that thing can turn ugly very quickly as well. Someone said 150 is my wet dream. Look, I don't know if we're getting 150, dude, but to imagine we're not getting 180, I think 180 could happen. I mean, look, that earnings turns out crappy. Remember, we talked about this on the market open for the past couple of days. EV demand, the Morgan Stanley report that came out today, it seems like they're saying EV demand is coming down. And there's been factors, whether it's lithium prices going down, whether it's Ford shutting down their F-150 Lightning shop in Michigan. There's a lot of different issues, along with price cuts, right, in China and Germany that Tesla instituted, that are hinting to the fact that demand may be slowing down or at least stalling. And as a result, the automotive business is not going to grow as much as the energy business. Now, I think if the energy business is growing 40% year over year and the bot is getting more momentum and FSD is getting close to rolling out, then Tesla can shoot back up to 350 by the end of the year, as long as rates come down as well. I think that's very possible. But to imagine all three of those things playing out perfectly along with rate cuts happening, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to see that happening for sure. Now, granted, earnings might give us a totally different understanding of what's going on with the company. Elon, who was visiting Auschwitz today, and had a conversation with Ben Shapiro. So he was, he was overseas today. I would imagine when he, says what he has to say on earnings, if he doesn't point to something that investors want to hear, and he can't just say that it's going to be bigger than Saudi Aramco and Apple combined. You can't just say that anymore. You got to actually prove it. If he doesn't say something that's really interesting to investors, it's going to be hard for Tesla to get out of the slump that it's in. I would imagine Kathy bought a lot today as well. She was buying a ton at 210. I imagine she's probably buying a lot today, or maybe she's waiting as well until after earnings. But there are a bunch of headwinds on Tesla. I would agree with Goldwinger. There are a bunch of headwinds going on right now for Tesla. Will be great for you to include the top gainers and losers for the day. That's actually a great idea. I'm going to write that down in my Google Doc right now. Let's do that as a segment. So I won't be able to do it today, but top gainers and losers for the day. I'm writing that down, and we will implement that tomorrow. That's actually a great segment. That's a great segment. Okay, cool. Thank you. This is great. This is good feedback. This will really help make the show even better. Awesome stuff. Yep, we'll include that. That's a great segment, because I mean, everyone wants to know, which stocks are the best, which stocks are the worst. Probably top 5 on the upside and top 5 on the downside too. I'll tell you what, DWAC was on the upside today. I mean, this bad boy was up 46%. Let's see where it's at right now. Dude, it was up 88% today. Last time I checked, it was up 40%. Oh my God. Oh my goodness, dude. That means even if you got in when it was up 41%, you had another 45% in gains, even if you got in at the theoretical top. Last time I checked, it was $37. Now it's $49.69. Wow. DWAC pumped. Oh my goodness, dude. Shout out to those who got into DWAC. I mean, making 100% on your money in a day is not easy. So, damn, dude. Rumble's up 35% in the day. DWAC's up 88%. Where's AMC? Is AMC up a little bit? AMC's down. It must suck to still be an AMC, dude. AMC and GameStop's up 3%. It must suck, dude. When the other meme stocks are running and the OG meme stock is just not running anymore. That's gotta suck. DWAC is Donald Trump's SPAC, okay? So Donald Trump released a SPAC in 2021. This thing ran up to like 150 back then. And it's basically his Truth Social Twitter competitor. It's a SPAC called DWAC, and eventually it'll de-SPAC and it'll be a real public company. But so far, it's still a SPAC. It's one of those only SPACs. It's one of the SPACs that's never de-SPACed since 2021. So I think the bull narrative is, look, if he becomes president, which quite frankly, it looks like Trump is going to be the next president of the United States of America. I mean, it just seems like that's going to happen. He's got a major bullhorn to tell everyone to download this app. And I mean, if the president has a company that you can invest in, the president is the most important, powerful man forget the United States, of the entire world. And, he has media coverage 24/7 internationally. So, I mean, there's just forget the marketing. All he has to do is say one word and then boom, there you go. So MAGA stocks are winning. Yeah. That's crazy, dude. I cashed out calls with a 200% today on DWAC. Wow. That's exciting. Good stuff, man. Good shit. 200% in a day is not easy. So that's exciting. Not bad at all. So yeah, that's the bull case for DWAC, and that's why it's up. Wonder if Nancy Pelosi will buy DWAC. Ironically, Nancy Pelosi, she bought a crap ton of in-the-money options on Nvidia. She's up like 30% on those. So I think the best trading strategy, quite frankly, is to just follow Nancy Pelosi, because she is up so... I mean, who would have thought at 480 Nvidia was going to be 600? Well, Nancy Pelosi thought. I mean, she bought like 20 million or some ridiculous number dollars of Nvidia. She bought in the money options that were deep in the money, like $120 strikes, which people was like, oh, why didn't she buy the stock? Because if you buy in the money options, it's a little bit cheaper than buying the stock. So she's that sophisticated of an investor to know how to even do that. And so she did that. And obviously Nvidia's mooned. So she's done very well on Nvidia. But I mean, she did it literally 3 weeks before Nvidia goes up 25% in 10 days. So, I mean, sometimes you got to follow the money. And in this case, the money was Nancy Pelosi. Palantir 1760, 4.8% up in the day. Why is Palantir up? Again, I think it's more macro. Watch the daily Palantir video after this, guys. That video breaks down why there is a little bit of concern in the government business. I think it's worth watching if you're an investor. But nonetheless, it's up 5% today, even though Wall Street Journal came out with a pretty tough article on it today. And Robinhood, $11.01 in the after hours, and S&P 500, 483.49, up 0.01% in the after hours. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I think I'm having Macro Mondays with Chris. I believe we're starting that. I can't confirm, but I'm pretty sure we're starting that at 5:30 today. If we're not, don't kill me. We will definitely start it. I talked to Chris over the weekend. He really wants to do it. It's just like scheduling stuff. So if we go live today, then that'll be live at 5:30. If not, no worries. Palantir Deep Dives will probably be live at 8 p.m., 8 to 8:30. And then we'll have Finance Junkies at 9 p.m. as well. Amit, are you running tomorrow too? Yes, guys. Like, I don't know if you can see it, but I don't know. I'm probably exaggerating. I already feel the weight coming off my skin. Like, if you guys remember seeing me in October in the videos, I was skinny, dude. I was like a skeleton. Like, I was at 145. Now I'm at 163, and the weight has come back. And so I got to get this weight to come off. And I've just made it a mission starting on Monday, which is today, that I'm going to be burning 1,000 calories every day. And today, first thing I did in the morning, burn my 1,000 calories. And then I came down to do the market open. And we're going to do this every single day for the next 2 months while I get back to 140. I think I can get to 140 within like a month and a half, dude. I don't think it's going to be that hard because I lose weight pretty quickly once I get in the grind. So no more turkey neck. Exactly, dude. Christmas, Thanksgiving, it just gave so much blubber to my neck, and I hate that. It wasn't as bad as when I was 185. 165 is nice, but 145 was beautiful. So we got to get back to 145. We got to... Amit's weight is a direct inverse relationship with the Palantir stock. Yeah, my weight goes down, the stock goes up, so I gotta keep losing weight in order for that to keep happening. Definitely before Palantir earnings. It's February 5th. February 5th, the earnings. All right, that's it, folks. I will see you later today on Palantir Deep Dives. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we'll keep going from there. Oh, real quick, let me just plug this real quick. Again, new YouTube channel. We crossed 1,000 subs, which is absolutely phenomenal. Thank you to everyone who subscribed. If you have not subscribed yet, this is the first video we put on there. Meet Kevin interview. Talked about stocks, a lot of interesting, fun stuff. And if you haven't subscribed, check out that channel. That channel is primarily going to be macro analysis, breakdowns. Like, I want to do a PayPal breakdown, and that channel is the perfect channel to do that breakdown on. So if you're interested in sort of deep dives on individual stocks, macro analysis, that is the channel to subscribe to. And you can check out that Meet Kevin interview on that channel right now as well. How tall are you? I'm 5'7", 5'8" on a good day, but 5'7" normally. All right. I'll see you guys later today. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye.